This man is actually Mark Chapman, Lennon's murderer. According to Chapman, he actually had his gun in the pocket when this photo was taken, but he chickened out. He was waiting outside Lennon's apartment, and when he got out, he asked for an autograph. He then kept waiting outside his apartment while reading a book. And when Lennon was returning, he shot him 4 times from behind. He then read more of his book while waiting for the police. Lennon was actually Chapman's idol until Lennon said that the Beatles were more famous than Jesus. Chapman then called Lennon a hypocrite, and how could he not believe in God? Chapman even told his wife that he was obsessed with killing Lennon. And after killing Lennon, he said that he did it for self-glory. Jeffrey Dahmer, one of the most notorious serial killers of modern history. After being sentenced to 16 life sentences, he was sent to a maximum security prison. His first year, he seemed to be on a path to redemption. He was even baptized and became a born-again Christian, but one of his inmates proved to be his demise. The first attack came from a fellow prisoner who tried to slash his neck, but he survived. A few months later, Dahmer was found bloody on the bathroom floor. He suffered multiple blows to the head from a metal bar, and he died in the hospital later that day. The attacker was another prisoner, and according to New York Post, the killer said that he killed him because of the persona he played to make everyone fear him. David Parker Ray, the toy box killer. It is believed that he had tortured and killed more than 50 women inside his soundproof trailer. Before torturing his victims, he would play a tape with a recording telling them exactly what they would go through. On the tape, Ray asked them to refer to him only as Master. He told them that they would never see their families again and explained in detail what he would do to them. But Ray didn't work alone. He had the help of his girlfriend Handy, his daughter Glenda Ray, and his friend Yancy. And he was caught when one of his victims managed to escape and called the police. So Ray was arrested after 50 or more murders. But his girlfriend was released in 2019. So Bianca Devins had developed a reputation on Instagram. There she met the 21-year-old Brandon Clark. They soon met in person as friends, but he was obsessed with her. One day when they were in a concert together, they got into an argument. Some sources suggest that the fight was about Bianca kissing someone else. When they left the concert, Brandon drove them to a dead end. There, they continued to fight, but Brandon took out a knife and slit her throat. The attack was so brutal that her head almost decapitated from her body. He then posted graphic pictures of her body on Instagram and Discord, and when police arrived, he stabbed himself in the neck, lied down, and took pictures of him and Bianca's body together. And some sources suggest that he started posting the pictures on Snapchat while the police had him at gunpoint. He survived and was charged with second-degree murder, but the pictures went viral. When Issei Sagawa murdered, dismembered, and ate his friend Renee, he was fulfilling a dream. She was a student studying with Sagawa when they became friends. When he gained her trust, he killed her, cut her up, and started eating her. He said that his only regret was that he didn't eat her alive. He then put her legs, torso, and head into 2 suitcases and went to throw them away into a lake. But the people there noticed that the suitcases were dripping blood, and they notified the police. When police found Sagawa and questioned him, his answer was simple yet terrifying. He simply said, "I killed her to eat her flesh." He was sent into a mental hospital in Japan to spend the rest of his life there. But the charges in France were dropped, so the Japanese had no case against him, so he was set free. And he has now devoted his time into writing books. So, this is Fan Man Yi, and her head was found stuffed inside a Hello Kitty doll. In 1997, she met a man called Chan Man Lok. He was a drug dealer and a member of a very powerful mafia. One day she decided to steal his wallet with $4,000 inside of it. But that was a huge mistake. When he saw his wallet was gone, he enlisted 2 of his men to find her. When they caught her, they locked her in an apartment that was full of Hello Kitty stuff. Then they decided to torture her for over a month. They did some horrible things to her that I cannot mention here, and one morning they found Man Yi dead. But one 14-year-old girl reported the murder to the police. She claimed to be Man Lok's girlfriend, and she was one of the torturers as well, and they were sentenced to life in prison. So, this is Casey Anthony, the 22-year-old single mother. In 2008, Casey's mother reported that Casey's daughter was missing for a month, and that Casey's car smelled like a dead body. But Casey spent that month drinking and shopping, and then she lied that her daughter was kidnapped by a nanny. A day later, Casey was arrested at Universal Studios, where she pretended to have a job. Later, her daughter's skeletal remains were found near their family home. It was suggested that Casey used chloroform, which was found in her car, to suffocate Kaylee and be free. But Casey's lawyer suggested that she could have drowned in the family pool, and that Casey's father wanted to cover the death. He even tried to commit suicide, but either way, Casey was found not guilty of murder. So, Jim Jones was a cult leader. He and his followers set up an agricultural commune called Jonestown. But Jones took their passports, millions of dollars, and manipulated his followers with threats, beatings, and wars. He even made them do some rehearsals for a mass suicide ritual. Then some unofficial investigations of his cult began. Jones had grown paranoid, and fearing that the authorities may come after him, he executed the suicide plan. He ordered his followers to drink some poison punch, and most of them obeyed without a question. The next day, officials arrived at Jonestown and they found 913 dead bodies. 304 of them were under the age of 18. Jones was also found dead, but by a bullet, probably self-inflicted. So, this is Terry. Her family planned a dream vacation on a boat. The captain, Julian, was an old friend whom they really trusted. Everything was going great, but on the fifth night, Terry woke up at the screams of her brother. She went upstairs and found her family dead. Julian had killed her entire family and his own wife. His plan was to kill his wife and get her life insurance. But Terry's father saw Julian killing her, and Julian had to get rid of the witnesses. Then he sabotaged the ship and left Terry to drown. But she remembered that there was a lifeboat at the back of the ship, and she managed to survive on the lifeboat with no food nor water for 84 hours. And she got saved by a cargo ship. And when Julian learned that she was alive, he committed suicide. Charles Lawson, the father, killed almost everyone in this photo on a Christmas day because he wanted to cover a secret. At first it seemed like a normal Christmas day. The two middle daughters left the house to visit their aunt and uncle, but behind the barn their father was waiting with a shotgun. He shot his daughters and hit them to finish them off. Then he went to the house and killed everyone except his oldest son, because he was sent on an errand by his father the night before. It is said that he killed them because his wife discovered an incest in the family. The 17-year-old daughter Marie was pregnant with her father's baby. Joseph Kallinger, who wanted to kill 3 million people. He was adopted at a very young age and he was abused and forced to work by his adoptive parents. In his 30s he claimed that he began hearing the voice of God, and that year he tortured and killed his first victim with the help of his 13-year-old son. His next victim was his other 14-year-old son, whom they killed together. Joseph claimed that he was a sacrifice. After several crimes and murders, they were arrested. Joseph testified that he was 1,000 years old and that he once was a butterfly. He later died of heart failure in prison, but his son is now free. Ginn grew up in a house dominated by a controlling mother, but after her death his mental health disintegrated. After some years, a woman was reported missing from her hardware store. A trail of blood led to Ginn's home. They found her headless, gutted body hanging from the ceiling. They also found organs in jars and skulls used as bowls. He confessed to killing 2 people and digging up multiple corpses. He practiced necrophilia and he made masks and suits out of their skin. He died of cancer and respiratory illnesses 26 years later in a mental health institute. Ted Bundy, a serial killer that had killed 30 people. But it's believed that that number was much bigger. His death and execution was a national event for those outside the prison gates and for those at home. The whole world was watching. In 1980, Bundy was convicted and sentenced to death. He spent years in prison before his execution. When the day came, he didn't accept his last dinner. His last words were, "I'd like to give my love to my family and friends." An anonymous executioner pushed the button of the electric chair, and 1 minute later, Ted Bundy was dead.